Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके. By regular attendance in the classes on Srimad Bhagvatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, established as an irrevocable fact. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishnabhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Namo Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanitraya Namaste Pankajangriye. Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Granth Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, The Perfect Society for Social Classes. We read till text number 13 yesterday. So we were talking about the Dvija, the twice born. Let's study the next verse, text number 14. Viprasyad dhaya nadini shad anyasya pratigraha ragyo vriti praja goptur avipradva karadibhi. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. For a Brahmana, there are 6 occupational duties. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or Kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on Brahmanas, but he may make his livelihood by levying minimal taxes, customs, duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the position of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas as follows. Brahmanas have 6 occupational duties, of which 3 are compulsory, namely studying the Vedas, worshipping the deity, and giving charity. By teaching, by inducing others to worship the deity, and by accepting gifts, the Brahmanas receive the necessities of life. This is also confirmed in the Manu Samhita. Shnam tu karmanam asya trini karmani jivika yagyadhyapane chaiva vishuddhacha pratigraha. Of the 6 occupational duties of the Brahmanas, 3 are compulsory, namely worship of the deity, study of the Vedas, and giving of charity. In exchange, a Brahmana should receive charity, and this should be his means of livelihood. A Brahmana cannot take up any professional occupational duty for his livelihood. The Shastras especially stress that if one claims to be a Brahmana, he cannot engage in the service of anyone else. Otherwise, he at once falls from his position and becomes a Shudra. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami belong to a very respectful family, but because they engaged in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah, not even as ordinary clerks, but as ministers, they were ostracized from Brahmanical society. Indeed, they became like Mohammedans and even changed their names. Unless a Brahmana is very pure, he cannot accept charity from others. Charity should be given to those who are pure. Even if one is born in a family of Brahmanas, if one acts as a Shudra, one cannot accept charity, for this is strictly forbidden. Although the Kshatriyas are almost as qualified as the Brahmanas, even they cannot accept charity. This is strictly prohibited in this verse by the word apratigraha. What to speak of the lower social orders, as even the Kshatriyas must not accept charity. The king or the government may levy taxes upon the citizens in various ways, by revenue duties, customs duties, realization of fines, and so on, provided the king is able to give protection to his subjects to assure the security of their life and property. Unless he is able to give protection, he cannot levy taxes. However, a king must not levy taxes upon the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. So, as this chapter is entitled, the four social classes, so here we see the occupational duties of the four varnas, or the different classes, namely here the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas are explained. So, what are the six main duties? Worshipping Krishna, teaching others about Krishna, how to worship, studying the Vedas, pathan, to study one's own self and to help others study or teach them, giving in charity and accepting in charity. So now, of the six duties, three are compulsorily. So what are the compulsory one? Actually, if we notice this, deity worship, studying of Vedas, scriptures, and giving charity. And the other three are just parallel to it on the reciprocating end. Like if one is learning oneself, then one can teach, one is following. If one is oneself studying scriptures, then one can teach others. If one is oneself giving charity nicely, of course, this is for Brahmanas, and Prabhupada is mentioning charity should be given to pure Brahmanas. So the mandatory ones are doing one's own self. If one cannot do the teaching, it's fine. The Brahmanas, but one's own self one should not compromise on studying the scriptures or worshipping the deity or giving in charity. Yagya dana tapa pavanani manishina. Even the great souls are purified by doing yagya dana and tapa. So the duties of Brahmanas are explained. Of course, in Kali Yuga, it's everything is a little topsy-turvy. The whole Varnashrama system is topsy-turvy. But yes, we have to try to follow amongst the 64 limbs, the 5 main limbs which talk about this. And deity worship is one of them. And Bhagavad Shravan is one of them. Chanting is one of them. And of course, one must give in charity as well based on one's situations. And it is very, very healthy. And one must give in charity in Krishna conscious activities. And this song proves that yes, that's absolutely correct. Because Bhagavad Gita says that the Yagya Dana Tapa Pavanani Manishina. Yeah, please keep your phones on mute. Otherwise, it creates distraction for everyone else to hear. Now, the example of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami has been here. Hare Krishna. Please keep your phones on mute then. Otherwise, if I have to do again and again unmute or again mute you manually, then it creates a little distraction for me. And so please cooperate. Yeah, sharing the example of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. Yes, from an external perspective, the society, they accepted the Bir Khas and Sakar Malik were their Muslim names. But internally, as Prabir Prabhu was mentioning the other day, they never gave up Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is actually above all these things, above the four varnas and above the four ashramas. And that's what Lord Chaitanya said. Naham Vipro, Nanarpati, Gopir Bhartur Padakamale. I'm the servant of the servant of the gopis. So Krishna consciousness is certainly above all that, but that doesn't mean we ignore these principles because this system, Chaturvarna Maya system, this is laid by This is laid by Krishna himself. It is not by any Tom, Dick, Harry. The system is made by Krishna if we nicely follow it and as close as we can get, and as per the principles laid down by Srila Prabhupada, we follow the Devi Varnashram. So no matter we are in whatever state, because Kali Yuga, everyone is actually in the Shudra, Kali Sambhave Shudra. But we have to try to raise ourselves by the 21 qualities and the 9 main qualities to become as close as possible to the divine qualities and do our best. And the government should not charge taxes to the devotees. That's the ideal government, not just levying taxes, extracting. These days, that's the point. Okay, the government can charge some tax not to the devotees, not to the brahmanas, but on the return of the tax, they give protection like their own child. Now the taxes are increasing, but on the name of protection, there is hardly any protection. The Rakshak have become Bhakshak. We did discuss that. The ones are supposed to protect are the ones they are exploiting or plundering. Okay, any other comments or questions anyone has? Okay, let's read the next verse, text number 15. Yes, Prabir Prabhu.
I have a question here. That Brahmanas, the 6 occupational duties. So we are studying the Vedas, worshipping the deities, and giving the chair. What are the other 3 there? Can you explain it?
The other 3 are the reciprocation of the same.
Oh, okay.
So studying the scriptures, then helping others study, teaching, pathan, pathan. And then worshipping deity, teaching others about worshipping. So basically teaching the same principles, giving in charity, and then accepting. Because if someone, like the Guru Dakshina, the teachers would not say, okay, give me this much money. But as a duty of a student is to give something. So they can accept it, the Brahmanas can accept it, but they must give also, and they must reciprocate. Because we read that if someone sells spiritual knowledge for money or any other way, means, oh, I will go to this person because he's a rich person and I will give a class there and he will give. The whole intention is spoiled and the whole katha will have opposite effect. So these are the 6 things, but the first 3 are more important, as Prabhupada has mentioned.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. You want to read next verse?
Hare Krishna devotees, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Text 15. Vaishyastu Bharta Vrittisyan Nityam Brahma Kulanuga Shudrasya Dija Shusrusha Vrittischa Shamina Bhavet. Translation. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the Brahmanas and engage in such occupational duties as agriculture, trade, and protection of cows. For the Shudras, the only duty is to accept master from a higher social order and engage in his service. Hare Krishna. So here, I mean, we can see the mercantile community, the Vaishyas. We can see from the behavior and how they were from Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna. Nanda Maharaj, everything he did or he does, he was taking the advice from Gargamuni, because Gargamuni was their Kulaguru, and he was doing everything under his direction. Even Mother Yashoda, when all the demons were coming and Krishna was killing, but every time she was asking their priest to do the all the pujas and everything for the protection of Krishna. And we can see that that was the they were the actually showing how the Vaishyas mercantile community should behave or work. Hare Krishna Prabhu, back to you. Please add or correct.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So Brahmana and Kshatriya we discussed in the last verse. The Kshatriyas are supposed to give protection. Brahmanas are supposed to primarily engage in the spiritual things and give direction to others. Whom they will teach. They will teach the other orders about these systems. And then Vaishyas, as Prabhuji explained, and then Shudras, accept orders and do assist them. So by doing this, the Brahmanas are like the head or the intelligence, the Kshatriyas are like the arms, the Vaishyas like the belly, and the Shudras like feet. It's not that one is higher, other is lower. Oh, head is, which is superior? Is head superior to the belly? Can the head function without the belly? Or can the belly function without the head? So the modern society teaches us of independent, but the Vedic society teaches interdependence. Society means interdependence. Everyone needs, like in the hands need the leg support, the leg needs the belly needs the eyes needs the nose. They're all interdependent. Who is superior? No one is superior. They all have their respective roles. And when they all come together, that's nice. Similarly, when all the Brahmana Kshatriyas do their respective functions, keeping Krishna as the center, then it's ideal society. Similarly, in our ISKCON society, we all have individualities. The things which I like, Mesh Prabhu may not like. And Prabir Prabhu may like something else. So keeping all those individualities, we cooperate for a higher mission. That's Krishna consciousness. And that's the society piece. Because society means individuals. Individuals means individualities. It's not that, oh, Vamsi Vilas Prabhu does not like my idea, so I don't like him. Because he doesn't think what I think. In a kirtan, just think about, in a kirtan there is mridanga, there is kartal, there is microphone, there is just kartal, hand clapping, there is someone singing, there is someone doing the arti to the Lord, there is someone cleaning the toilet. Everyone is doing some function. So in a temple, everyone is contributing their own way. Same is this classification. Sometimes people say, oh, let's look at this Hindu society or Vedic society. Look at this classification. The classification is there in the today's management also. There's a general manager, and then there is finance manager and operations manager and HR manager, and then there are the supervisors, then there are the associates. The classification is there. Does the general manager and the janitor get the same pay? Certainly not. But are they both important to run the company? Yes, absolutely. So that's interdependence. That's Vedic culture. Any other comments, questions?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandavat Pranam. One small thing is that based on what we read, I don't think it's Brahmana teaches Vedas to other classes. When we study Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we are considered Vaishnavas, and I believe Prabhupada has clearly delineated us because Vaishnava is really above 4 varnas and ashramas. Just a small thing I wanted to add. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Mataji. Any other comments, questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, something I heard is for Vaishnavas, it's not called Varnashram, it's called Devi Varnashram. So Devi Varnashram is following the Navada Bhakti, and any Vaishnava is higher than like Mataji said, higher than any of these Varna and Ashrama systems. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. We say Daivi, divine. Nice. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So my question is then, why devotees get Brahman initiation? Because if you are above the 4 varnas, so what is the need for Brahman initiation? Thank you.
As I think Nandini Mataji asked this question. You want to say something, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu,
Yeah.
to worship Radha Krishna deities. And that's why we take Vaishnavas, take Brahman initiation to advance faster in spiritual life. And I believe it's like sannyas is above sannyasi, a pure Vaishnava sannyasi is also not mentioned here. So that's whom Brahmanas should serve. The Brahmanas should serve Vaishnavas and sannyasis. Does that add, Prabhu? Please correct me if you, or please clarify your question. It's not.
Yes, Bhadra Prabhuji wants to speak. Please, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Srila Prabhupada started this society to have the best Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. And of course, as the time goes by, and he also wanted the Varnashram system in the future, but he wanted Daivi Varnashram. That is his last instructions. So as the time goes in ISKCON, there will be Varnashram system. Because Varnashram system is according to not according to their birth, but according to their gunas they have. So everybody is not gonna be a completely Brahmana. There will be people who occupation would like to have it Kshatriya, or like to have a Vaishya occupation. So that will be there, but it will be Daivi Varnashram system. See? And it will be there in the future. This is going to go on for next 10,000 years. So it will be there. But of course, ultimately, whole point is that we have to come above, and Daivi Varnashram, as you had discussed before, is mainly doesn't matter what service you do, what you do as a Vaishya, you do occupation you do. But ultimately, everybody is to please. Ultimately, whole point is to please the Lord, please the Supreme Person of Godhead, and please your spiritual master. That's ultimately, it doesn't matter what occupation you are, and your occupation, because that's the gunas you have acquired from your birth. That cannot be changed. But whatever we will come above these gunas. So. And as far as giving the Brahman initiation, because he had to give, Srila Prabhupada had to give Brahman initiation because he had people coming from the which background. So to worship the deity, they had to give the Brahman initiation, but they had to worship the deities and cooking and all these things. But when the devotees are following 16, chanting 16, or following the principle, then and he is doing service, he is coming above this Varnashram. I hope that.
Thank you, Bhadra Prabhu. Just one small addition. So one is this slightly misnomer. Really, the proper nomenclature can be Harinam Diksha, which is the first initiation. Second is in the Gayatri Mantra, and third is the Sannyas Diksha. So Bipul Prabhu, just I was thinking about it, and Prabhupada at one place said, "No, Vaishnava, I am the fifth class in this four. My duty is to serve all the other four classes." So just few comments to add and to such a nice question that you asked, Bipul Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Okay, let's read the next verse. Who has not read for this week so far? Please raise your hand. Yes, Prabhu.
Text number 16. Vrata Vichitra Shalina Yavara Shilona Shilochanam Vipra Vritis Chaturdheyam Shreyasi Chotarotara. Translation and purport by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As an alternate, a Brahmana may also take to the Vaishya's occupational duty of agriculture, cow protection, or trade. He may depend on that which he has received without begging. He may beg in the paddy field every day. He may collect paddy left in a field by its proprietor, or he may collect food grains left here and there in the shops of grain dealers. These are four means of livelihood that may also be adopted by Brahmanas. Among these four, each of them in succession is better than the one preceding it. Therefore, a Brahmana is sometimes offered land and cow in charity, and thus, for his livelihood, he may act in the same way as Vaishya, by cultivating land, giving protection to cow, and trading off his surpluses. A better process, however, is to pick up a grain from a field or from a dealer's shop without begging. So here again, alternate has been given for the Brahmana. He can do the Vaishya's occupational also, because sometimes they get cow and whatever they received, and they can depend on that. And that's what the Prabhupada ji is saying here. And another thing has been explained here. What are the best things they can do it, basically, among us, those four. So they have a lot of options here. But again, we are talking about this is the time of the, as Prabhuji explained, is the interdependent society. Today's society, I don't think so. Anybody is doing this and can do this. That's my understanding. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So four other things are mentioned, alternatives. One, he can take up the profession of a Vaishya, that is agriculture, cow protection. Then the better is Shalina, to depend on what is received without begging. What is received without begging. Third, begging in the paddy field for one's day's grains, not for one decade. The problem is that the conditioned mind always thinks, okay, I have today's, I can have, but what about 10 years from now? What about my 10 generations from now? So that's not what a pure Brahmana thinks like. Then the even higher is not even begging, collecting whatever is left over in the shop some grains like certainly are left on the ground, or not so good ones are left. That's called silonchana. So basically, more and more dependent on Krishna. If we take it in the Vaishnava way, we cannot now, artificially imitate it. But how we can understand this is depending more and more on Krishna and less on my own strength, my own abilities. Like today, okay, I may have a body, but God knows what may happen tomorrow. Today I may have a job, but who knows what may happen tomorrow. Of course, that does not mean that we don't plan for future or become unreasonable. Lord Chaitanya didn't advise that either. We have to nicely balance at the same, to not go in the, not artificially imitate anything, not be miser, at the same time not be simple living, depending more on Krishna. That's the essence which we can try. Again, easier said than done, but we have to try. Any other comments? Any questions? Yes, Prabhu, please.
Prabhu, if you can kindly share the same concept we see that in Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's pastimes. Can you please kindly share those things?
I was going to say the same thing.
Please, you share, Bhadraprabhu.
No, I never. I was going to ask, when I read this, I was thinking the same thing, because it's just the first thing it says, receiving food without begging. That is Madhavendra Puri, right? That is special name for it. Yachi, something special name, that they don't, these sannyasis, they don't ask for the food, they don't beg, it comes automatically. If they comes, fine. If they doesn't come, then they don't eat. That was Madhavendra Puri. And as far as other things, when I read right away, it reminded me of the Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, as you know, when he was Jagannath Puri, he stand at the outside of the east gate or west gate, whatever, at the temple, and he was begging. And then he thought, I'm like a prostitute here begging. So he stopped that even. And then he started to collect the grain, whatever the grain was washing away in the Nali of the Jagannath temple, he was collecting that. And he started to eat that. And Lord Chaitanya came, and Lord Chaitanya saw, and Lord Chaitanya was happy, so he snatched food from him. So that was the Raghunath Das Goswami, who was the son of a billionaire at that time. But you see that's his tapasya austerity. That's why Raghunath Das Goswami is the austerity personification. Isn't it? That's what I know something about him. But these are applied by the 6 Goswamis also in the Vrindavan. What they did, I mean, they were, whatever they provided, people just gave, and they depend on that.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu.
Bhadraprabhu, I'm just with your permission, please accept my humble obeisances. I just want to.
Permission.
I want to add that
something which I don't know.
No. Prabhu, just want to add that first line, that which he has received without begging. Actually, his parents.
What happened? It broke down.
Paying him actually every monthly payment, and he was inviting every day Mahaprabhu in his for prasadam with that money. But later on, he thought that because that money was coming from the businessman or the materialistic person, he didn't want to take that. Right. And Mahaprabhu asked one time Srila Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Goswami that what happened, Raghunath Das is not inviting me anymore. Then Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Goswami said that because he's not taking anymore, accepting any more money from his parents. Then Mahaprabhu said, oh, that was very good because that money was coming from materialistic. So I just want to thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Back to you.
It's a good point.
Maybe Prabhu, you are the scholar for Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please tell further what happens next, how his surrender and renunciation goes to deeper and deeper levels. You're on mute, Prabhu.
Bhadraprabhu, sorry, Hare Krishna. Bhadraprabhu already mentioned this next part. So thank you. Hari Bol.
Yes. And that term is called Ajgar Vritti. Ajgar, we saw that in the Rishabh Devs also.
Right.
We saw that in multiple places. Ajgar Vritti. Ajgar is basically a snake or a type of snake. It just lays there and whatever comes of one's own accord does not does. Depends on Krishna. Depends on the divine arrangement of the Lord.
Yeah, that's what happened Madhav Puri at Govind Kund. Suppose there is big pastime. Going to go through that. So that's Govind Kund. Thank you.
Yes, this just shows how much what it actually means. It's not just some fairy tale, but should it help us to inspire our faith, our surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and grow our sincerity and faith in the Lord. Then we can be more surrendered, we can be more dependent on the Lord and less on our own so-called abilities, so-called bank balance and stuff. Okay. Let's read the next verse, text number 17. Who would like to read that one? Anyone wants to read text 17?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I would like to read.
Yeah, please.
All Lord Srila Prabhupada, text 17. Jaghanya nattumam vrittim anapadi vajena naraha prite rajanyam apatsu sarvesham api sarvasaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Except in a time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the Kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others. Purport. The occupational duty of a Brahmana should not be accepted by persons in lower social orders, especially Vaishyas and Shudras. For example, an occupational duty of the Brahmana is to teach Vedic knowledge, but unless there is an emergency, this professional duty should not be accepted by the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas or Shudras. Even Kshatriyas cannot accept the duties of a Brahmana unless there is an emergency. And then even if he does so, he should not accept charity from anyone else. Sometimes Brahmanas protest against our Krishna consciousness movement for creating Brahmanas from Europeans, or in other words, from Mlecchas and Yavanas. This movement, however, is here supported in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. At the present moment, society is in a chaotic condition and everyone has given up the cultivation of spiritual life, which is especially meant for the Brahmanas. Because spiritual culture has been stopped all over the world, there is now an emergency, and therefore it is now time to train those who are considered lower and condemned, so that they may become Brahmanas and take up the work of spiritual progress. The spiritual progress of human society has been stopped, and this should be considered an emergency. Here is solid support from Narada Muni of the movement known as Krishna consciousness. So it's very nice and important verse. Here Narada Muni explaining the Varnashram Dharma, and here also mentioned the emergency time. Only the emergency time, the Kshatriya, Vaishyas and Sudras can take up the duty of the Brahmana, only the emergency time. So Prabhupada here is explaining that in Kali Yuga, this is very emergency of Krishna unconsciousness. So many people in this world, the whole world, they are very unconscious and living a miserable life. So that is why it is important for the Krishna conscious movement to make the people not thinking about their caste, but giving them the true Krishna consciousness. And in the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada also explained that the Vaishnavas are the better Brahmanas than the so-called Brahmanas. So they are already exalted because they are Krishna conscious and they are Vaishnavas. So those Brahmans are far better than the so-called Brahmans. And this was supported by Narad Muni in Srimad Bhagvatam. That's what Prabhupada is explaining in this purport. Back to you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji, so much. Prabhupada is so nicely mentioning that this is an emergency time, very, very chaotic condition. And we see that the Rakshak have become Bhakshak. The king and the government is supposed to protect, they are the ones plundering. So certainly it's chaotic. People should feel protected in front of police, but the police is, they are feeling scared in front of police. So very, very chaotic. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada came to US to give this Krishna consciousness, to create pure Vaishnavas, pure devotees. And we have so many, Pratyaksha Praman. Earlier, who may be involved in totally unbrahmanical life, unclean life, became pure Vaishnavas and followed all the qualities of Brahmana. Brahmajani Tirti Brahmana. Not only just, we discussed the four, not only just Vipra, not only just Dvija, but Brahmajani, knowing the absolute truth and following a very, very pure, clean life. Brahmana is not by thread, who is just born in a Brahmana family and then is bearing at 25 paisa, 25 cent thread. That's not Brahmana. And then smoking bidi or cigarette. Prabhupada created real Brahmanas who were following the Brahmanical culture, who were following the Vaishnava principles, who were following all the duties. So it's absolutely fine in this chaotic condition. The whole world is topsy-turvy, that we also come to the Brahmanical stage or the Vaishnava stage, because Vaishnava is even higher, we discussed that, and take up the process of the work of spiritual progress. Prabhupada is basically telling this to all of us here very, very clearly. This is now the time to train those who are considered lower and condemned. Myself, we can put our name here, so that we may become Brahmanas and take up the work of spiritual progress for our own self and for helping others. That's the duty of Brahmana or Vaishnava, to be purified and to help others. That's what Lord Chaitanya said. First do one's own purification and then help others. Karo paro upkar. So completely aligned, and Prabhupada is quoting this as a proof from Narad Muni. So beautiful verse. Any other comments, questions anyone has?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I want to do a very silly question. So, Prabhu here is a physician as well as spiritually elevated. I like to ask one question. I'm a materialist person as well as profound of knowledge. Like we do few days fasting in a month, half day or full day fasting. Actually, that is good for health. But when devotees or exalted devotees like Raghunath Das Goswami eating only few grains, and that is also he's taking from the nali that the Bhagavata said. So how they maintain their body? Like we know there's a lot of vitamins you need, these, balanced diet and everything. And years after years, they're taking that simple food. How can they maintain without disease, because it is spiritually nourished. That's why. Hare Krishna.
Raghunath Das, I'm sorry. Should I say something, Subilas?
Yes, Prabhu, you don't have to ask, Prabhuji, please.
Raghunath Das Goswami, when he was in Vrindavan, he was taking only 1 cup of buttermilk, nothing else. And he was paying 2,000 or 3,000 obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. And he was chanting, he was sleeping only 1.5 hours in all 24 hours. He was so busy chanting. So the question might be, how is it possible how is that possible? Of course, as a myself conditioned soul, it is not possible for me, and I'm not going to imitate him, But the point is that he is coming from the spiritual world. All this Lord Chaitanya's associates are coming, all the Goswamis, and they are coming from the spiritual world here, setting an example for us to show that, yeah, it is possible to do it. It's possible to do it. And the point is that their body is taken over, as my understanding, and you all can add more points in that. My understanding is that their body is completely taken over by spiritual energy. Their body is running by spiritual energy. Just like, take the example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, for him, there was no jet lag. There was no jet lag for him. Wherever he went there, coming from India to the Los Angeles, the 12-hour time difference, or whatever time difference, he was not affected by that. He would keep his schedule as it is, as he was in India, or as even in Los Angeles when he go to India. So how is that possible? Because the spiritual energy, soul is which is giving the spiritual energy. Soul is giving the energy ultimately anyhow. But the soul is the whole spiritual energy has taken over their body, and whole body is running under spiritual energy. That's my understanding. And that's why they are able to do it. That's what, now some can put a more point into this to get more elaborately.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anyone wants to share any comments or additions?
In fact, one time they said someone they say a doctor is called as Kavi. Kavi diagnosed Raghunath Das Goswami that he's sick. He has overdigestion. He has problem in his digestion. He overate. So everybody was really surprised. How is that possible that Raghunath Das Goswami and overeating? So because in his mind he was offering buttermilk to Kṛṣṇa, and he thought, oh, let me test it. This is happening in his mind. And it was so sweet that he drank that buttermilk more and more. And then he got. So his spiritual world is, they say, is the opposite of material world. So when he just in mind, these symptoms are manifesting. So his body is running on the opposite battery. Is running on the spiritual energy. And so his body is completely not material body. Back to you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hari.
Thank you so much, Mataji. And we see that, of course, these great Goswamis and even Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even you may have certainly heard a lot of lectures about Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, how you're a whole night translating. I'm reading His Holiness Govind Swami Maharaj, whole night they're busy in their service, hardly sleeping 2-3 hours. Now, can ordinary person manage? No, we don't have to imitate, but their whole body becomes spiritualized. The example is given when the iron rod comes in contact with the fire, it becomes same as fire. It has the same properties. So therefore, the bodies of these great souls are not burned. That body is buried and that place becomes a samadhi. That place becomes, and that place is all spiritual energy is still there, and it continues to be there. So their bodies are also transcendental. Therefore, it is never burnt, because their whole life, their body, mind, words, everything is dedicated in the service of the Supreme Lord. So yes, it's hard for our tiny brain to understand, because I see things in my own perspective, that if I can't live without food for 2 days, how can someone live without food for 2 days? If I can't live without sleep for 1 day, how can someone live? Because it's pretty natural. Don't think it's like any shortcoming. It's pretty natural, but these they are on a totally higher level. Because of their sincere bhakti, they transcend themselves from the material to the completely spiritual by the fire of bhakti.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, all devotees.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, it's already past time, so we will stop here and continue tomorrow with the next verse. Grantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhaktavind ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.